Hi. I don't know who is connected for now. Can I? Okay. Anja. Well, I don't know who's connected. Alfia. Sorry. Okay. Let's see. Okay, Rachel. Hello, Alfia. So you just let me know when the nursing home is connected. I hope the connection is good and the sound as well. I will have here my quiz open, so when I have to do the questions, everything works fine. Around here, see everything is working perfectly. Yeah. So let's see. Okay. So Rachel is with nursing home or is my supposition? Hello, Julia. Okay, perfect. We can start right now. Well, 16:59. So, hey everyone, nice to meet you. My name is Joshua. So, I'm gonna be your guide today from the city of Strasbourg. We are in Strasbourg, France. I have been living here for the last 3 years. I have been doing this kind of walking tours around the city for the last 2.5. Okay, I will try my best to give you a general idea, a great point of view of how the city is important, how beautiful is it, okay? It is really a little windy here. That is normal in this town. It is not much to do about that. I just turned out and turned on the noise cancellation system. If you don't hear well, I will still try to speak loud. Don't worry about the bells. They are only gonna ring for like 1 minute or 30 seconds. It's because it's 5 p.m. But yeah, if you get a little windy, it's because this is a windy place, this city in special. So what we're going to do today is to see the city for about 1 hour. We're going to get to know a little bit about the most important parts. We're going to be around the Cathedral Square. We're going to be around the Gutenberg Square. Then we're going to go to a little culinary corridor of Strasbourg. And then finally, we're going to meet the covered bridges of the city that used to be our old entrance and the most ancient neighborhood that we have, that is actually called La Petite France or the Little France, as where we are, okay? So, first of all, I have to let you know that we are going to have a quiz here. So I'm going to ask you several questions during the tour. So around each 10 minutes or so, I will give you the around 15 to 20 seconds to answer them. And thank you for coming with us, for going with the tour with us, with JoinPro. Also, you have to know that at the end of the tour, you will have the chance to do donations to us. So if you like the tour or if you have any questions, if you at the end want to know anything about the city or France itself, just let me know, okay? So let's begin the tour. Now, I'm gonna turn my camera over to give you a little view of where I am right now, okay? So, this that you can see right here, I'm gonna keep it on mark. Let me move the phone just a little bit to the side. So I'm gonna keep this on market so you can have the chance to take pictures of the cathedral. So right there you have it. This is the Cathedral of Strasbourg, all the way there to the top. So let's come down here a little bit. So this cathedral is one of the oldest temples in all France. The reason of the importance of the cathedral is basically because this cathedral is one of the oldest ones in the whole country. It has been here since the year 1015, so it has over 1000 years old. The Cathedral of Strasbourg is also known to be as one of the oldest temples in all Europe. We have to know that when this cathedral was finally inaugurated was in 1439, and from that moment on this became the highest temple in Catholic world. So we are going to walk around a little bit around here, and we're going to see a little bit more about this temple. So the history of the cathedral is really interesting because, as you can see right now, this cathedral, it is a Gothic temple. But in the beginning of its history, it used to be a Roman cathedral or a Romanic temple, that in terms of architectonical style. With that in mind, you have to know that in the old days, this cathedral used to be completely different. We only used to have this that you see, like that wall right there, completely plain, not decoration whatsoever. So if you look closer here with me, maybe you can realize it from this point. All the decorations are a little bit far away from the main walls. So afterwards, around the years 1300s, we started to construct very different things around. The reason for that is because Strasbourg became the house of all Catholic faith. So all the cardinals in France used to live here in this city. Something special about that is that actually the cardinals didn't live in a house attached to the temple. They used to live in that palace that you're gonna see right there. So that palace right here is called Palace of Roan, or the Palace of the Roan family. The reason of the name for the palace is actually because the first main bishop, or the first big name bishop that we had in this city, was actually also a prince, the prince of the British French family of Roan. So his family wanted him to be living in the same kind of style that he was accustomed to. This place also has been the house of people like Napoleon or Josephine when they used to live in the city, when Strasbourg was almost the second most important city in France. But what is amazing about this nowadays is that you have three of the best museums in the city right here. You have the Museum of Decorative Arts, the Archaeological Museum, and the Beautiful Arts Museum. So as you can see, this beautiful square is really important. So this that you have right here, this museum right there, it used to be the Association of the Creators of the Cathedral, so nowadays it's the Museum of the Works of Notre Dame. So if in any case you ever had the chance to come, I recommend you to go to that place because you're gonna see the old pictures of the construction, all plans for the church, and it's gonna be a really great experience about what Strasbourg really means in manners of the cathedral itself. And finally, this last building I'm gonna show you right now, this one with this yellow window that you see over there, that one is called Le Cinquième Lieu, or the fifth place. It's the best place to get to know the architectonical style and the importance of the architecture in Strasbourg for all France, because it is really interactive and gives you the opportunity to have a general view of how Strasbourg was and how it is nowadays. So now let's go back to the cathedral. We're gonna turn here a little bit, right here, and as you can see from this part, this cathedral is one of the biggest temples that I have seen in my life. So when we go up, let's go up a little bit, you can realize about the tower. So if you were wondering how tall is this cathedral is actually 142 meters tall. And I say this in special because this cathedral has changed. What you have to know about the city of Strasbourg is that actually this city has changed nationalities 5 times. So we have been France, Germany, and France again. With that in mind, you have to know that every different bishop that arrived during the history of the temple, all of them had a different idea of what they wanted to construct. And it was the Germans who decided that they wanted to create the biggest temple in Europe, okay? So I'm gonna show you this from closer because of course with the camera, even if it's a good lens, it's impossible to really see how big this is. But to see the little details, we have this little model that you can see. This was put here in the year 2015 to celebrate the millennium of the creation of the cathedral. So here I can show you that we have like a little journey of the creation of the cathedral written right around here. Okay, so in this model of the cathedral, you can see that it's really particular to see how the cathedral tower was built, because actually it was constructed to have two towers, but they decided not to construct the second one because the person that was building the second one was actually killed during the constructions, and they decided to give the work to his son. But his sons, even if he was a really great architect, he didn't have much faith in himself, so he decided to build this instead. This that you see right here is actually called Maison des Gardiens, or the House of the Guardians. So what I was telling you about the height of the cathedral is really important, because when this was inaugurated, we were still Germany. And as you can imagine, the Germans didn't like so much to lose their biggest temple. So what they did in exchange was actually build bigger temples around Strasbourg. First of all, they built the Cathedral of Cologne. That cathedral is one of the most famous ones in Germany, and it has 158 meters tall. Then they built the Cathedral of Ulm, only 3 hours from Strasbourg nowadays. And that cathedral is actually the biggest temple in the world. It has 161 meters tall. So with that in mind, you can imagine, well, 142 doesn't seem much, but even then, it was even less, because actually when the cathedral was inaugurated, they only had 139 meters. What is special about this is that the last addition to the cathedral was this. This little tower that you see right here was put over 400 years after the inauguration of the temple. Maybe some people can say it was out of vanity. Is the tower where I want to show you right now, where you can see the pointy cross of the cathedral right on the top over here. Okay, so that is called the Tower of the Neo-Roman Cross. Now, talking again about the cathedral, you're going to realize that it has a very special color. This special color is because it is covered in sandstone. And this sandstone gives to the cathedral, if you see right in front of me with the gargoyles around here, like a black coloring. It's not because it was born, it's just because it absorbs a lot of dust and a lot of dirtiness throughout the years. But other than that, something also really special, and I don't know if you knew this, but I'm gonna show you the model once again. I don't know if you can guess the material that this is made of, but it's actually copper. And copper is really important for the whole region of Alsace, that is where we are right now, because actually we are divided in two. Strasbourg is the capital of Oran, that means Baran, that means low river Rhine area, and we have Colmar, that is the capital of high river Rhine area. There it was the birthplace of someone really important even for the history of the United States, and it was Bartholdi, the creator of the Statue of Liberty. So with that in mind, you can know how important copper is for this whole region. Even when you look again to the cathedral, you're going to realize that if you look closer, you can notice around here in the roofs and around the little ones on the top, they are kind of green, because that is the color, as your Statue of Liberty, that copper gets with the years, okay? Now, last thing I'm gonna mention to you about this beautiful square that you are seeing with me is that in that house right there, we used to have a really big character living for many years, and that was Jean-Baptiste Kleber. Jean-Baptiste Kleber was a really important character for the city of Strasbourg, because actually he was the person that was assigned to be the chief general, or the main general in all Napoleonic forces during the first years of the wars. With that in mind, our biggest square in the city center is even called after him. I mention him because this person was almost one of the most important characters in the whole history of France, because thanks to him we have, or he was the person that pushed what we know nowadays as Egyptology. So with that in mind, you can know that Kleber was one of the characters that wasn't so important not only for France, but also for the whole world, okay? Now, let's continue, let's walk a little bit more, and while we walk, I'm gonna try to explain you how it is to live here nowadays and how important Strasbourg is for all France, okay? So, First of all, you have to know that the city of Strasbourg actually is one of the biggest ones in France. This city has over 800,000 people living in town, and over 150,000 of them are students. This is a really university place because when you come to town, you have the opportunity to enjoy of what we usually call the best of both worlds. The reason for that is because we are so close from Germany that since the year 2017, our tramway system, that is our main way of transportation, they started to be able to go inside Germany without crossing any borders. Why is this important? Because actually, when you live in Strasbourg, you can pay a license degree for around 200 euros the inscription, and then you will pay around 60 euros a year. But when you pay for a master degree, you will pay around for 300 euros the whole masters. So you can see it is really cheap. Then living in the city gives you also the opportunity to save money, for example, in the cost of life, because when you live in Strasbourg, you have the chance to pay, I will say, around 400 euros for a studio apartment, and you will find the chance also to pay less money when you go buying groceries, because having this chance to go inside Germany gives you the chance to save money in the moment that you go over there, because when you buy here you can spend 80 euros in groceries, and in Germany you can spend 45, only 20 minutes from the city center on a tramway, okay? So with that in mind, you can see it gives you the chance to be more independent. Now, before we go from the square, let's come back a little bit with history. So this house that you see right here, I'm gonna show you a little bit to you. That house over there, this one, as you can see, different from any other, is called Maison Carousel. Maison Carousel actually is the second oldest construction in the city. So they are one next to the other. The first one being the Cathedral, and the second one being Carousel House. House of Carousel was created in 1427 as a summer place for aristocrats. So something special about this house is that actually this house in particular is the house with the most amount of windows in Europe. You can see there are all over this side and all over the front. We have 75 individual windows in Maison Carousel or House of Carousel. Also, other than that, everything outside, I imagine that you can see it around. Let's go a little bit closer. So everything that you see outside as decoration was made by hand. Everything was carved in the wood around the house. And the reason why it is so important is because everything is really eclectical. So you're gonna find that we have Catholic representations, Hinduism, Buddhism, and that is because every time that someone important was coming here, they honored them by putting something of their culture. Nowadays, as you can see, it is a restaurant and is one of the best ones in town. Now, I have to tell you that something really special about this place and this whole square in particular is that it is completely forbidden to have cars around. So when you have the chance to come here, you're gonna have the chance to walk all around the cathedral with no cars bothering you. Maybe this little train that you see right here, if you want to do a little trip around the city center. Now, let's go back to our journey and we are gonna meet Gutenberg Square. While we get there, I'm gonna try to explain you one of the most important parts or one of the most important time of the years living in Strasbourg, okay? So, before getting to that point in history, I'm gonna ask you a question for our quiz. As I told you in the beginning, we're gonna have this quiz for you to have the chance to win a prize at the end of the tour, okay? So, let's start. I give you the most famous person in the history of Strasbourg was option A, Beethoven, option B, Kleber. You have again the most famous person in the history of Strasbourg was option A, Beethoven, or option B, Kleber. So, I will give you 15 to 20 seconds while we walk out of this beautiful square. I'm gonna give you some images to have as a reminder so you can take your pictures or anything like that. And think about it. Again, option A, Beethoven, option B, clever. Okay, I hope you had the chance to choose the right answer. We're gonna see that on the end. And right here, let's see. Don't worry, the wind is more powerful in the Cathedral Square, but it's gonna be less when we go out. And we're going out right now. So right here, you have a beautiful image of the Cathedral of Strasbourg. Let me put it in the middle, so for you have a beautiful picture like that, okay? So right there you can see it. I hope you had enjoyed the history of the cathedral. And now, let's go learn some other things, okay? Okay, so let's turn around here and let's continue. Now, this right here, we're gonna go out of the Cathedral Square and we're gonna meet right now with Gutenberg, okay? So this beautiful square that you have right here is called Gutenberg Square. The reason of the name, of course, is because of Johannes Gutenberg, who we can see right there. So Johannes Gutenberg, as maybe all of you or some of you could know, was actually German. Johannes Gutenberg was really famous because he was the creator of the nowadays movable press, okay? So when you see the statue right here, you can see that right next to him, we have a movable press, the first model that ever existed, okay? And one of the things that made him the most famous, it was because actually he was the first person to print an exemplar of the Bible with another language other than Latin. Okay, it was of course German, as he was. Now, the history of Gutenberg with the town of Strasbourg was really rich because even when he wasn't living here for many days, when Gutenberg lived in town, he used to be the person that actually brought us an illumination period. We say that because in the old days, Strasbourg was only known to be a city of tax payments. So as we are right in the border with the south of Germany, every ship that needs to cross the border from Germany to France and from France to Germany needs to pay taxes to the city of Strasbourg. But when Gutenberg came to town, he was the person that was creating the press. So of course, he was someone more interested in creating culture, science, books, poetry. So this was let's say, a boom of culture and knowledge for Strasbourg. In that moment in history, we could say that Strasbourg changed completely. That is why nowadays we have this square on his honor. This that you see right next to Gutenberg is our Carousel. So one of the most historic parts of Strasbourg, or historic attraction, because it has been here since I'm gonna show you right here. I think you can see the name over here. Let's go a little closer. It's called Carousel 1900. And the reason for that is because actually it has been here since that time. So right here you can see it. This is a piece of attraction that is not only utilized, as you can see, for kids. Even people that live in Strasbourg, people that is doing bachelorette parties, birthdays, they all come here. And they only take it down for around 3 months every year. The rest of the year, every time you come to Strasbourg, you are gonna see it on place. Now, this right here, to show you around, these three buildings in the old days used to be our old Chancellor office when we were Germany. This right here, this beautiful big building that gets beautifully illuminated every night in each window to the top, it is our House of Commerce or our Chamber of Commerce and Industry, but it used to be our first city hall, okay? And right here, the last building that we have, this one in the corner, together with this other one, used to be our old House of Coins. Nowadays, everything has changed and we have new locations for each thing. But something really important that you have to know about this one in particular, our first city hall of the old days, is that, as you can see, if we turn around a little bit, it is right in front of the Cathedral of Strasbourg. Right there you can see the tower. So many people tend to ask, what did we change the location of our beautiful city hall from such a good place in front of the cathedral and we put it in another square that right now is still in the city center but not such an honor place? The reason for that is a historic reason, not only for the city of Strasbourg or the region of Alsace, but also because of all the people in France. So while we walk, I will tell you the history. I'm gonna change the camera so you can see me while I'll tell you this, okay? So, right here, let me tell you the history. I don't know if some of you, or maybe all of you know, but the name of the national anthem of France is La Marseillaise, or the Marseillaise. So that means someone coming from Marseille. Marseille is one of the most beautiful southern villages of France. So for many people, of course, given the name, they assume that the national anthem of France was created right there in the south of France. But that is not true. The national anthem of France was created actually here in Strasbourg, and in the square where we have our new city hall was the place where it was first sung in history. This national anthem is really important because actually it wasn't created to be a song to celebrate or to be proud of being French. It was created to celebrate only the winning in battles. During the Napoleonic Wars, the person that created this anthem was actually not a musician but a soldier. He was called Rouget de Lille, and Rouget de Lille has his statue right here in our City Hall Square. This character, during a dinner with the generals of the time, got asked why we don't have a song to celebrate when we win in battles as any other army around Europe. And he was inspired by this questioning, and in a matter of only 3 days, he created this beautiful anthem, okay? So, even when many French people can say to you sometimes, well, we don't love Napoleon so much, we have to say that sometimes it doesn't seem like a truth statement, because most of the things that Napoleon instituted as this anthem itself are still in place, okay? Now, let's go back. So, right here, we're gonna change venues right now. Let me give you a little last peek of this beautiful neighborhood of the Cathedral of Strasbourg. As you can see, it tends to get more modern, but still in a really beautiful French style. So, I tell you this because in the changing of venue, you're gonna notice that our architectonical style is gonna change a lot. And the reason is because this neighborhood where we began, the neighborhood of the cathedral, used to be reserved only for the aristocrats. I will say, the people that used to have a better social status. But, in the other hand, the neighborhood of La Petite France, that is right here in the other side of the street, was to be reserved for the working class people. So, before we go there, I have to tell you this. This also created a big gap in beliefs. So, as you can see up there, this building that you see right here, that is Église Saint-Thomas. We're gonna go there afterwards, but Église Saint-Thomas is actually the biggest Protestant church that we have in town. And I tell you this because actually all the churches in the neighborhood of the cathedral are Catholic, and all the churches in the neighborhood of La Petite France are Protestant. So this gives you an idea of how tolerant the city can be. We even have one of the only churches that in the same building shares a Catholic church and a Protestant church inside the same building. That is called a Church of Saint Peter the Old, and is right here in Strasbourg, one of the only 3 in France that we can see nowadays, okay? Now, before we continue, I will ask you one second question for our quiz, okay? Because now we're gonna stop with the history and we're gonna start the food. Now, our second question for the quiz is the following. So, how tall is the Cathedral of Strasbourg? How tall is the Cathedral of Strasbourg? So, option A, 142 meters. Option B, 150 meters. So, how tall is the cathedral? 142 meters, or option B, 150 meters, okay? Now, giving you 15 seconds to answer while I cross the street, okay? Okay, Rachel. So I imagine that you had everyone had their time to answer. So now let's continue with our tour, okay? This right here, first place of food that we're gonna know. So this right here is called Boerle. Boerle is actually one of the oldest bakeries in the city, okay? So you have that this bakery shop has been here since the year 1919. As you can see right here, the Puy means from. Since that year, this bakery has been owned by the same family. So what I tell you this is because actually this gives you the idea that everything is going to be traditional, and you are right, but also everything that you're seeing is fresh. They open every day at 3 a.m. in the morning to start preparing for the next day. So of course, as you can imagine, one of the most important and the most tasteful things that they have is actually bread. As you can see, we have many different types behind this great man that is attending people. So the most famous ones are the bread of Champagne, the bread of Levieux. Also, you have pumpernickel, and if you ever had the chance, try to view Strasbourg. That means old Strasbourg bread. But don't worry, it is not old, it's just only the name, and it's really, really nice because what it makes the bread special in this city is that actually they mix the different ways of making it that they use in Germany with the ways that they use usually in France. So with that in mind, as you can, or you maybe have heard, the Germans really proud people of their bread, and French as well. So this is like a fusion between the two. You can get an idea of how important it is. Now, second thing we're gonna talk about, we have it down here, is this dessert that you can see right here. It seems like a cupcake upside down, but it's nothing like that. It's really similar to an Italian panettone, so it is a little bit dry, a little bit full of air, and it's actually called kuglap, okay? Right here, you can even see the mold that they use to create it. Why they have two sizes? That is actually the way that you can differentiate between an Alsatian or a kuglap that comes from Alsace region and the one that comes from the German region or from Germany. Why? Because I have to tell you, most of our gastronomy tends to be really Germanic. So in Germany, they also have this. The difference is that in Alsace, they do it like these big ones that you can see, this and these ones are sweet, as well as in Germany. They come with almonds, raisins, chocolate, it depends. But in Alsace, they do these, these little ones that you see right here, and those ones usually are the salty ones. So the salty ones tend to come with bacon, onions, and even sometimes with hazelnuts to create a really beautiful flavor. Now, this right here is the most important part of them all. As you all know, these right here are pretzels, or it depends where you are, it could be called pretzel. In Germany, they have the two names depending on the region, okay? But in this one, closer to the south of Germany, we call it pretzel with B at the beginning. Why is so important? Well, I will say you only this. The symbol of the region of Alsace, it is in A with the legs of a pretzel. So, right there you have, as important as that is. So, what is special about this kind of pretzel, the Alsatian one? That in Germany, they are more traditional about it. So every time that you tend to come to a bakery shop, you're only gonna see them with here, like this, with the points of salt. But as you can see in Alsace, you can also find a table. Usually that table right here is full, but as I told you, they do it in a certain amount of preparations every day because of course, they are not gonna sell you anything that is not fresh, okay? So for that reason, we can say that we have over 20 different varieties, even sweet pretzels with Nutella, but in Germany, they will never do that, okay? Now, let's continue in our culinary road, okay? So, coming back to this street, I'm gonna say that Strasbourg has a really beautiful and rich tradition of food. First of all, we are gonna say that in this city, the Christmas time is the most important one. So of course you're gonna find that right now I'm gonna show you things that usually are more common in winter period. And afterwards I'm gonna tell you how important Christmas is. I'm sorry for the lighting, but every time that you have a camera in this kind of lighting, they tend to look like that, okay? Now, this right here is our Alsatian Nougat. And as you can see, we have many different varieties, okay? So, what I usually say is that in best case scenario, you have the chance to try them, as is in this store. Why? Because the nougat that most of us are accustomed to, it is a little bit less creamy, sometimes it can be even less sweet. In this city, it is really sweet, it is really full of sugar, it's like a sugar rush. So if you ever had the chance to try it, take a little bit before you get the whole thing, because of course, it depends on everyone's paladar, but it's better to try before than get the idea of it's gonna be like any other nougat, and this is not the case. Now, you have these ones right here, the white ones that have sugar on them, and also you have the chance to go for something different. You have these ones right here in front of me, here and here. Those ones are the ones that come only with honey, okay? Now, continuing with something really Christmassy is this that you have right in front of you. So right here, 1, 2, 3, because this right here is usually the shape of the big ones. Those are what we know as gingerbread, okay? As we all know, gingerbread is more common in Christmas time, but I have to say to you, in this case, the gingerbread is called pain d'épices. Pain d'épices means a spices bread. It is important to know the name because in this case you can understand that in most cases you're not gonna feel the ginger as the main ingredient. What you're gonna get the most is gonna be actually anise. Green anise is utilized in the manufacture or the creation of this type of gingerbread of spices bread. So it's something really pushing the flavor. Also, they use a different type of flour and they also use a different type of honey than the one that you usually are accustomed to try. And I tell you this because as you can see in this little brochure, actually this was exposed in Paris. Is called Pain d'épices de la Bruche because that is the part of the city of Strasbourg where it was created. La Bruche, it is a canal that is surrounding the west part of the city of Strasbourg. Now, let's continue here and let's go for something more salty, okay? So, I don't know if some of you or all of you may have heard of foie gras. It is something really famous here made with goose liver. So in France, is famous, but in Strasbourg, it is amazing. So, as you can see here, we have a really nice selection of different foie gras. I usually say that you have to try at least 3 of them to really get to know or to really have an idea of which one you prefer. So, right here, as you can see, we have many different types. And on the inside of the store, I'm gonna show you real quick. You can see over there. Bonjour. This is the store that you should go or you could go if you want to buy Alsatian sausages, okay? Alsatian sausages are, let's say, compared with Germany, you have bratwurst, for example, and here you have, I'm gonna go closer to show it to you, these red ones right here, those are called Ecknicke, okay? Ecknicke. Those ones are still the same. Put it on a casserole, some water on it, let it boil, and enjoy, okay? But we also have dried sausages. I'm gonna show you a little further. Before we get there, let's turn a little bit again to the sweet part, okay? So, right here. Here is the store I will recommend you if you ever come to buy macarons. So as you know, macarons are really famous in all France and in Strasbourg as well. So if you ever had the chance to taste this beautiful dessert, I recommend you to come to places where you can compose your box because as you see, really full of color, really full of flavor. And now, right here you have these. This is called merengue, okay? So the white one in the beginning, merengue. Now, it is vanilla, almonds, and pretty much that's it. The technique of making it look and taste almost like a, let's say, a little bit airy, something really, really full of air, is because it is something that you usually take with a coffee. It is something that is not usually as a dessert itself, but more as an accompaniment, okay? And finally, you have right here these kind of looking cookies are actually macarons, but German ones, okay? In Germany, they are called Cocos Macaron because actually they are made with coconut, okay? Really great flavor. They come with pistache, chocolate, raisins, vanilla, even banana. So you have many different choices, okay? And of course, right here, our old friend the Decorative that you can still also see right here. Okay, now let's continue. So now, as we are in France, we have to talk about cheese. It's true? So let's go to this little store that we have right here, and I'm gonna show you some around, okay? So if you look from here, you can see that we have these big pieces of cheese, okay? So this store is the best one I can always recommend in downtown to see the best of Alsatian cheese. So right here, we have Munster cheese right there, the first one of all. Munster cheese is similar to camembert, okay? It is really creamy and you put it with everything. It doesn't have to be with only wine, but you can have it with bread, you can have it for breakfast, you can have it for dinner, so it's something really, really versatile. Then you have also the one that you see right there with the spots, like it seems to be spices or peppers. That one's Tom d'Alsace, okay? So Tom d'Alsace is really tasteful cheese that is usually more going to the side that is, let's say, not so strong. So you go better with white wine and also with beer. Then you don't have to settle in Strasbourg with only cow cheese because you have right here on the top, those ones, the whitest ones, those are goat cheese, and right next to it you have brebis, that is actually sheep cheese, okay? And finally, of course, if you're gonna go with something more special, something more strong like for red wine, I always recommend to go with the ones that are down here. These two right here, you have there Comte and you have Belfort, okay? I am sorry that I cannot go in right now, but I am gonna show you real quick. He's gonna come back real soon. He left this little piece of paper to know that, okay? Now, still from here, I know you can appreciate the Alsatian sausages, the dried ones that you usually take like they are salami. You just got it, you eat them, okay? Now, let's continue. So, let's walk through this beautiful street and we're gonna get to see some other interesting things. So, let's turn the camera because now I'm gonna tell you about the traditional dishes of Strasbourg. Okay, so the traditional dishes that we have are, first of all, we have tarte flambée. Tarte flambée, actually, it is in a style of pizza. So it's something really similar with the same type of making in the dough. So it's thinner, of course, and what it changed is that actually the base is made with the white cream. The traditional one comes with bacon and with onions. Then you also have Shikrut. Shikrut is also existing in Germany, and the name is, we could say, even more famous for the Germans, and it's what we know as sauerkraut, okay? So it's basically cabbage on a recipient of glass during a period of time, and then you put vinegar on it to let it ferment for a while, okay? Then, let's turn right here. And then you have, other than that, that comes with sausages and with pork, okay? Now, to be in the middle with you, let's try again, right there. So, as I was telling you, this is really famous, really great, and really tasty now. Then, you also have something called Bakkeofe. Bakkeofe is similar to something that is really famous as well from German cuisine that is called goulash. So it's a stew of 3 different types of meat, and it comes with baked potatoes, okay? What makes it different from goulash is that goulash tends to be more like with a soup texture, and Bakkeofe tends to be more like a cream because the meat is cooked for over 8 hours to get this creamy, beautiful texture, okay? Now, those are the most important ones, but of course you have many other dishes around Strasbourg, and I always say that if you ever had the chance to come to France, try to find a place that can sell you Alsatian food because the taste and the food, it is incredible. Now, before we enter to the canals of La Petite France, that is going to be the last part of our journey before getting to the beautiful barrier of entrance of Strasbourg, I'm going to ask you our third question, okay, for our little quiz. Let me turn the camera for you so you can get this beautiful view I'm going to get for now. So, let's do it here. Right there. Here you have. So, this is La Petite France, or the Little France. Now, third question of our quiz. Gutenberg was the creator of the press, option A, or a famous writer, option B. Gutenberg was, option A, the creator of the press, or B, a famous writer. Now, 15 to 20 seconds for you to answer, and we are gonna continue with the tour. It is cool? Okay, so we continue. Now, before we get to the canals of La Petite France, because we are seeing just the bridges still, I'm gonna tell you something really special. Strasbourg is known to be as Capitale de Noël. Capitale de Noël means capital of Christmas. The city of Strasbourg has not only the oldest Christmas markets in France, but one of the biggest ones of all. I am really sorry, I don't know what it got blurry right here. So let me walk a little faster. I mean it's because of the water, maybe. So let's go up, follow. Okay, we are gonna go up, so far from the water. So as I was telling you, so for you to hear the history of the Christmas markets, these Christmas markets are the oldest ones in France and some of the most beautiful ones that we have. The reason why the Christmas markets of Strasbourg are so famous is because we have over 400 shops of Christmas surrounding the whole center of Strasbourg. So what makes them so important is that actually our Christmas markets have been in place not only in the city of Strasbourg, but in the whole region of Alsace for over 500 years. So every time that you have the chance, or if in any case you have the chance to come and visit Alsace and Strasbourg, I really recommend you to come in Christmas period because it's gonna be something really, really, really beautiful. Now, continuing with the history of La Petite France, these right here are the main canals. So I can show them right here for you. I have to tell you, La Petite France, it is actually one of the most important places in the city. Why? I hope that the image is okay. I just made this little pause to be sure, because I am wide in the open. So I hope everything is going fine. Now, so La Petite France is the oldest neighborhood in Strasbourg. It's like our ancient part of the city. And it's really beautiful, really full of history, because you see all those houses around, this kind of construction that you see, these kind of roofs that are so special. This all comes from the south of Germany, okay? It comes from the part of Baden-Württemberg region. Why we have these kind of houses? They are called double timbered or half timbered houses. The reason why we have this kind of housings is because actually in the city of Strasbourg, the most important job, especially for La Petite France, was to be a leather worker, okay? So when you used to live in this city and you used to live around this beautiful neighborhood of La Petite France, you used to be or a fisherman or a baker or a leather worker. Those were the most important ones. But the leather workers are famous because that is actually the reason why we have these roofs. In the old days, they used to put the leather on these roofs, nail it there, fill it with vinegar or impregnated them with vinegar or other substances to let it dry during the summer with the sun and then be able to sell it, okay? With that in mind, you have to know that most of the houses that you're seeing in the old days, they weren't utilized to be houses for families. They were mostly utilized to be leather workshops, and when the summer was over, they all closed. That is the reason why they are so well taken care of, okay? Now, coming back to the history of La Petite France, you have to know that it is composed by 4 different canals. These 4 different canals are really interesting because actually these canals were utilized one for each thing. First canal of La Petite France was used for manners of commerce. So in this main canal that we're gonna see just in a little bit, you used to see only the boats docked there and trying to sell barrels, leather, copper, every different thing that was important for the city. Second of all, we used to have the War Canal. That used to be the second one because in that canal we used to plant all our battles. So when Strasbourg was being threatened, it used to happen that in this canal you could find that they had a really special strategy. They used to let the canal open wide and let the boats come through, and when they were finally inside, they ambushed the boats. So I'm gonna show you how this worked. Before that, the last 2 canals that we have are the third one that is actually our exit canal. I think I don't have to explain you what was the usage, but it was to go out of the city. And the fourth one used to be the residential one. These last 2 are the first ones that we're gonna see right on my left, okay? So where you see all these beautiful flowers, you're gonna see the last 2 canals, and then we're gonna walk alongside the other 2, okay? So, right here, this that you see with me, used to be our exit canal. What is called like that? Because it used to be the way of going out of Strasbourg. Now, in the other side of this park, that we're gonna see it afterwards, we have our main canal of commerce. Right there, I can show it to you. You see these towers right here? That used to be our system of defense. So the towers already knew when an enemy was coming to town. So what they used to do was to let them come, we already know, and we're gonna defeat you. Really confident Strasbourg was people. You have to know this. Alsatian people, they don't feel as they are neither French, neither German. They feel Alsatian. They even have their own dialect. Actually, Alsatian dialect, that is something I want to tell you about. It is a mixture between French and German. So the creation of this whole neighborhood that you are seeing around me actually was mainly to participate in a way of making easier the relationships between Alsatians that were born from German families and Alsatians that were born from French families. So you have Alsatian like this. If you want to say how are you in French, you say ça va. If you want to say it in German, you say wie geht's. If you want to say it in Alsatian, you say ça geht's. As you can see, one word from each. Now, coming back to La Petite France, you have right here the residential canal. As you can see, these houses seem even bigger from the ones that I showed you before. And the reason for that is because even when the families that used to live here around here weren't aristocrats, as in the neighborhood of the Cathedral, they used to have a better position on their economy, okay? So with that in mind, they weren't rich, but still, they were living better than a leather worker, for instance, or than a fisherman, okay? Now, I'm gonna ask you one more question. Really simple one, we just talk about it. So, I mentioned to you a little before what was the most famous baked good in Strasbourg from a bakery. So, option A, macarons, or option B, pretzels. You have, what is the most famous baked good in Strasbourg? Option A, macarons, or option B, pretzels. Now, 15 to 20 seconds for you, just the time I will get to go on the top, and we are gonna finish the tour around these beautiful covered bridges of Strasbourg, okay? Don't know if you can see it from here, but you have a little clue right there. Okay, perfect. So let's continue. Now, last part we're gonna see is the old entrance to the city of Strasbourg. As I was telling you, the city of Strasbourg used to have a really particular way of defending themselves. So, right here, you can see in the bottom of the picture a particular structure. So, let me show it better to you. This that you're seeing right here is called Barrage Bauban, or the Barrier of Bauban. Bauban was actually the architect of this structure, and this used to be the old entrance to the city of Strasbourg. If you realize, this structure is designed in a diagonal way, so it creates a blind spot that doesn't allow the ships that are coming here, or they were coming here in the old days, to know what was in the other side. So with that in mind, you have, for example, when you look down here, you can see those holes around. Those are cannon heads. Strasbourg people was really proud, but also really intelligent. So if you had the chance to come inside here, they let you in, they attack you with the cannons, and afterwards, let's do a little turn. These towers of defense started to shoot at you. You had two chances. Going to the second canal, that is the one that you're going to see next to this beautiful house called House of the Covered Bridges. So you used to have the chance to come to this second canal that was apparently free. That is why I told you it's called the War Canal. Or you used to have the chance to go to the first one. If you choose the second one, it was free. But when you went inside, as you can see, right at the bottom, you have another bridge. So it was always an ambush. Then, let's continue down here. If you wanted to be more brave and you wanted to face the army, you had to go to the main canal, to the first one. So as you're gonna see, this canal was really well designed so the boats and the soldiers could go up and down all the time and really be willing, and not only willing, but prepared to defend the city. Because these canals, were only used by them, but also for the merchants. So the merchants used to have the chance to have like little steps to go up and down from their boats. So you can even see that in these canals, you have steps all the way through. Right there, you have it. And a little farther right here and all around, okay? So as you can see, it is really narrow and it allows you the chance to defend a beautiful city as Strasbourg with, let's say, ease. Strasbourg has never been and was never invaded by river routes, okay? In the times that we changed our nationalities was war with Prussia, Second World War, and in other conflicts that we had throughout history, okay? Now, to finish the tour with you, I'm gonna turn my camera over and I'm gonna ask you one last question, okay? So, let's do it right here. My last question for you is, what used to be the most important job in Strasbourg? Okay? Option A, baker. Option B, leather worker. You have two options. Option A, baker. Option B, leather worker. I wish that you have the chance to have the correct answer, and afterwards I will know which team won, okay? Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your answer. Right now, I hope you have enjoyed your time with me. Remember, if you have any questions or anything like that, I will be able to answer to you wherever I can. And of course, if you enjoyed the tour, please give us a note, and please, I hope that you had the chance to enjoy the rest of your day. Have a really, really nice day. And of course, remember that you can always donate to us, okay? Thank you very much. Hope to see you soon, and bye-bye.